Commander Jake Morrison stood in the control room of the USS Leviathan, watching the dark waters of the Pacific Ocean through the thick glass windows. The submarine moved slowly through the deep water, its lights cutting through the darkness like yellow knives. They were 3 miles below the surface, deeper than most people could imagine. "Sir, we're getting those strange readings again," said Tony Walsh from his position at the sonar station. The young man had been tracking unusual sounds for the past week. "It's like something big is moving down there, but every time I try to get a clear picture, it disappears." Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her research station where she had been studying water samples. "The bioluminescent patterns are getting stronger, too. I've never seen anything like this in 15 years of deep sea research." She pointed to her computer screen showing swirling lights in the water. "These aren't from any known sea creatures." Jake walked over to examine the data. The USS Leviathan was on a routine mapping mission in the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of Earth's oceans. They had been down here for 2 weeks, collecting samples and mapping the ocean floor. Everything had been normal until 5 days ago when the strange readings started. "Could be equipment problems," suggested Amy Rodriguez, the communications specialist. She was checking her instruments for the 3rd time that hour. "We've been down here a long time. The pressure does things to electronics. I've run diagnostics on everything twice," Tony replied. "The equipment is fine. Whatever's down there is real." Jake studied the sonar display. The readings showed something massive moving in the deepest parts of the trench, but every time they tried to investigate, the signals would fade away. It was like the ocean itself was playing tricks on them. "Keep monitoring," Jake ordered, "but stay focused on our mission. We need to finish mapping this section before we head back to the surface." The submarine continued its slow journey through the deep water. Outside, the ocean was completely black except for their lights and the occasional flash of a deep-sea creature. The pressure at this depth would crush a human body in seconds, but inside the Leviathan, the crew worked in comfortable safety. Amy suddenly looked up from her radio station, her face pale. "Commander, I'm picking up emergency broadcasts from the surface. Something's wrong up there." Jake moved quickly to her station. "What kind of emergency?" "I can't get a clear signal through all this water, but it sounds like attacks on coastal cities, multiple locations." Amy adjusted her equipment, trying to get a better signal. "Sir, I think we're under attack." Before Jake could respond, the submarine shook violently. Emergency lights flashed red, and alarms began blaring throughout the vessel. The crew grabbed onto whatever they could find to stay upright. "What was that?" Dr. Carter shouted over the noise. Tony's eyes were wide as he stared at his instruments. "Something massive just passed over us. I mean massive, bigger than anything I've ever seen." Jake moved to the periscope and raised it toward the surface, though they were too deep to see anything clearly. "Amy, try to contact Surface Command. I need to know what's happening up there." Amy worked frantically at her radio, but only static came through. "No response, sir? Either the equipment is damaged or there's no one left to answer." The submarine shook again, this time more gently. Through the windows, they could see strange lights moving far above them. Not the familiar lights of surface ships, but something else entirely. The lights were too bright and moved in patterns that no human vessel could manage. "Those aren't our ships," Jake said quietly. Dr. Carter pointed to her instruments. "The water temperature is rising. Something's heating the ocean from above." More lights appeared in the water above them, and this time they could make out shapes. Massive objects were descending from the surface, their forms unlike anything in human technology. They were smooth and curved, glowing with an inner light that made the water around them shimmer. "Alien ships," Tony whispered. "They have to be..." Jake's military training took over. "Emergency dive. Take us deeper." Now, the submarine's engines hummed louder as they descended further into the trench. The alien vessels above them seemed to be focusing on the surface and the shallow waters. For now, the deep ocean was still safe. "Sir," Amy called out, "I'm getting fragmented signals from other submarines. The entire Pacific Fleet is under attack." The aliens came from space and they're targeting our oceans. Jake processed this information quickly. Aliens attacking Earth's oceans meant they understood how important water was to human civilization. Most of Earth's population lived near the coasts. Control the oceans and you control the planet. What about our weapons? Dr. Carter asked. Surely our military can fight back. Amy shook her head. From what I can gather, conventional weapons aren't working. The aliens have some kind of shields. Our missiles and bullets can't penetrate them. The submarine continued its descent into the deepest part of the trench. Outside, the alien ships were busy destroying everything in the upper levels of the ocean. Jake could see explosions in the distance, flashes of light that meant human vessels were being destroyed. We might be the only ones left, Jake realized. The only human military vessel still operational in this part of the Pacific. Tony's sonar suddenly erupted with new signals. Sir, you need to see this. Something's happening in the deep water, something big. Jake looked at the sonar display and felt his breath catch. The readings showed movement throughout the deepest parts of the trench, not just one or two objects, but dozens of them. Massive structures were rising from the ocean floor, structures that had been hidden in the darkness for who knew how long. What are those? Dr. Carter asked, staring at the display. I don't know, Jake replied. But they're not human, and they're not like the alien ships above us either. The structures continued to rise, and as they got closer, the submarine's lights began to reveal their true nature. They were not ships or buildings in any sense that humans would understand. They were organic, covered in what looked like living tissue that pulsed with its own light. Some were the size of city blocks, others even larger. They're beautiful, Dr. Carter whispered, watching the massive forms move through the water with impossible grace. One of the structures moved closer to the submarine, and Jake could see that it was covered in patterns that seemed to shift and change. The surface wasn't solid like metal or stone, but flowed like liquid while maintaining its shape. Sir, Tony said, his voice filled with awe, I think they're trying to communicate with us. The sonar was picking up rhythmic patterns, almost like music. The sounds were complex and layered, unlike anything in nature that any of them had heard before. Amy worked at her equipment, trying to decode the signals. It's definitely some kind of language, but it's not like anything in our databases. Jake made a decision that would change everything. Dr. Carter, can you modify your equipment to respond to those signals? If they're trying to talk to us, we need to try to talk back. As Dr. Carter worked on her equipment, the alien ships above continued their assault on the surface world. But here in the deep, something ancient was stirring. Something that had been waiting in the darkness for millions of years. The creatures of the deep were awakening, and they were not happy about the invasion of their world. Jake and his crew had stumbled into something far bigger than a simple research mission. They had found Earth's greatest secret, hidden in the deepest places where sunlight never reached. The real war for Earth was about to begin, and it would be fought in the crushing depths of the ocean where humanity had never been able to survive. But they were not alone down here. They never had been. Dr. Lisa Carter worked frantically at her modified equipment, trying to decode the strange signals coming from the deep ocean creatures. The rhythmic patterns were unlike anything she had studied in her years of marine biology. The sounds were too complex and organized to be random, but they didn't match any known whale songs or dolphin calls. I'm getting something, she announced to Commander Jake Morrison and the rest of the crew. The patterns are repeating, but with small changes. Each time, it's like they're trying different ways to get our attention. Tony Walsh monitored his sonar display as more massive structures continued to rise from the ocean floor. Sir, there are dozens of them now. Some are the size of football stadiums. They're all moving in the same direction, heading toward the surface. Jake studied the readings carefully. Above them, the alien ships continued their assault on the upper levels of the ocean. The water itself seemed to be heating up from their weapons. But down here in the deep, something entirely different was happening. Dr. Carter, any progress on those signals? Jake asked. I think I can send a basic response, she replied. "I've programmed our sonar to copy their rhythm patterns. If they're trying to communicate, this might show them we're listening." She activated the modified equipment, and the USS Leviathan began broadcasting the same rhythmic patterns they had been receiving. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The water around them suddenly filled with lights as dozens of the massive creatures began glowing brighter. "They heard us," Amy Rodriguez whispered from her communications station. "They know we're here." One of the largest structures moved closer to the submarine. As it approached, Jake could see that it wasn't just covered in living tissue. The entire thing was alive, breathing, and pulsing with internal light. It was like a living city, with sections that opened and closed like massive doors. "It's trying to get our attention," Tony observed. "Look at the way it's moving. It's being careful, not to damage us with its size." The creature positioned itself directly in front of the submarine's main windows. Jake found himself staring into what could only be described as eyes. They were enormous, filled with an intelligence that was clearly not human but unmistakably. Dr. Carter gasped as her equipment suddenly came alive with new signals. "The communication is getting more complex. It's like they're downloading information directly into our computers." Images began appearing on their screens. Not pictures in the way humans would understand them, but patterns of light and movement that somehow conveyed meaning. Jake watched as the images showed the ocean floor, but not as it was now. These were memories showing the deep sea from thousands or maybe millions of years ago. "They're showing us history," Dr. Carter realized. "This is how the deep ocean looked before humans even existed." The images continued, showing the gradual development of massive cities on the ocean floor. The creatures had built an entire civilization in the deepest parts of Earth's oceans, hidden from the surface world. Their technology was based on biology rather than metal and electronics, growing their buildings and tools from living materials. "Look at this," Amy said, pointing to her screen. "They're showing us the surface world too, but from their perspective. They've been watching us." The images showed human ships passing overhead, human cities growing along the coastlines, and human technology slowly advancing. But they also showed something else. The deep ocean creatures had been protecting the surface world, quietly managing the ocean currents and marine life to maintain the balance that kept Earth's climate stable. "They're the guardians," Jake realized. "They've been taking care of the planet's oceans for millions of years." The images shifted, showing the recent alien attack from the creature's point of view. The alien ships had come from space and begun destroying everything in the upper levels of the ocean. But they had made a critical mistake. They had attacked the domain of beings who considered the entire ocean their home. Dr. Carter's equipment registered a massive surge in biological activity throughout the deep ocean. "The entire ecosystem is responding. Every deep-sea creature for hundreds of miles is moving toward the surface." More of the living cities began rising from the ocean floor. Jake watched in amazement as structures larger than any human building moved through the water with impossible grace. They were heading toward the alien ships above, and Jake had a feeling the aliens had no idea what was coming. "Sir," Tony reported, "I'm detecting some kind of electromagnetic pulse coming from the creatures. It's unlike anything I've ever seen." The pulse washed over the submarine harmlessly, but Jake noticed that some of their electronic equipment briefly flickered. If the same pulse hit the alien ships, it might disrupt their systems. Amy suddenly looked up from her communications station. "I'm getting a signal from the surface. It's weak, but it's definitely human." Jake moved to her station. "Can you clear it up?" "I think so. The creature's electromagnetic activity is actually helping boost the signal." Amy worked at her equipment, and slowly a voice became audible through the static. "This is General Patricia. Hayes calling any surviving naval units. We have established a resistance base in the Rocky Mountains. If anyone can hear this, we need immediate intelligence on alien naval operations." Jake grabbed the microphone. "General Hayes, this is Commander Jake Morrison aboard the USS Leviathan. We are operational at maximum depth in the Pacific Ocean." There was a long pause before the response came. Commander Morrison, we thought all Pacific Fleet units were destroyed. What is your status? We're safe for now, General. But you need to know something important. We're not alone down here. There's an entire civilization living in the deep ocean, and they're not happy about the alien invasion. Jake could hear the skepticism in the general's voice. Commander, can you repeat that? Did you say civilization? Yes, General. An advanced species that has been living in the deepest parts of Earth's oceans for millions of years. They've been protecting the planet's marine ecosystem, and now they're preparing to fight back against the aliens. Dr. Carter had been listening to the conversation while continuing to monitor the creature communications. Commander, they're trying to tell us something important. The patterns are changing again. New images appeared on their screens. These showed the alien ships in detail, including their weapons and defense systems, but more importantly, they showed weaknesses. The creatures had been studying the alien technology and had found ways to defeat it. They're sharing tactical information, Jake realized. They want to work with us. The largest of the creatures moved even closer to the submarine. Through the windows, Jake could see complex patterns of light moving across its surface. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Amy's communication equipment suddenly came alive with new signals. Sir, I think they're trying to establish direct contact. Not just with us, but with the surface resistance. Can you make it work? Jake asked. I think so. Their biological technology is far more advanced than ours. If they want to talk to the surface, they can probably boost our signal enough to reach anyone on the planet. Jake made a decision that would change the course of the war. Do it. Connect us to General Hayes and any other surviving human forces. It's time the surface world learned about Earth's real guardians. As Amy worked to establish the connection, more creatures continued to rise from the deep. The ocean floor was revealing secrets that had been hidden since before human civilization began. The aliens had thought they were attacking a defenseless water world, but they had awakened something far more powerful and ancient than humanity. The deep ocean was coming alive, and its inhabitants were ready to defend their home. The real war for Earth was about to begin, and it would be fought by creatures who had mastered the oceans long before. Humans had even learned to swim. Jake watched through the windows as the massive beings prepared for battle. Humanity was about to gain allies they never knew existed, and the aliens were about to learn that Earth's oceans belonged to someone else entirely. General Patricia Hayes stared at the radio equipment in her underground command center, still trying to process what Commander Jake Morrison had just told her. An ancient civilization living in Earth's oceans seemed impossible, but the evidence was mounting. Her surface scouts had reported massive disturbances in the Pacific, and seismographs worldwide were detecting movement from the deepest ocean trenches. Commander Morrison, I need you to repeat what you just said about these ocean dwellers. General Hayes spoke into the microphone. The signal was clearer now, boosted by whatever technology the deep-sea creatures were using. Jake's voice came through with unusual clarity for such a deep transmission. General, they call themselves the Hadal. They've been living in the deepest parts of our oceans for millions of years. They've been protecting Earth's marine ecosystem, and now they want to help us fight the aliens. Amy Rodriguez worked at her enhanced communication station, where human technology had been somehow merged with the biological systems of the creatures. General Hayes, we're sending you visual data now. You need to see what we're seeing down here. In the resistance bunker, screens flickered to life showing the massive living cities rising from the ocean floor. General Hayes watched in amazement as creatures the size of buildings moved through the water with impossible grace. Her technical staff gathered around the displays, their faces showing the same shock she felt. This is impossible, whispered Lieutenant Ben Parker, her chief intelligence officer. These things are larger than aircraft carriers, but they're moving like they're alive. They are alive, came Dr. Lisa Carter's voice through the radio. Everything down here is biological. Technology. They grow their buildings, their vehicles, their tools. It's like they've mastered life itself. General Hayes studied the tactical information being transmitted from the deep. The creatures had been analyzing the alien ships and had discovered critical weaknesses in their defense systems. "Commander Morrison, can these Hadal beings actually fight the aliens?" "General, you should see what they can do," Jake replied. "They can manipulate water like we manipulate air. They can create pressure waves that would crush our submarines, and they can generate electromagnetic pulses that disrupt electronic systems." Tony Walsh's excited voice joined the conversation. "The alien shields are designed for space combat, General. They can't adapt to the unique conditions of Earth's deep ocean. The Hadal can exploit that weakness." One of the massive creatures approached the USS Leviathan, and Jake could see complex patterns of light moving across its surface. Dr. Carter worked frantically at her equipment, translating the biological communications into something humans could understand. "They're offering to teach us," Dr. Carter announced. "They want to show us how to modify our technology to work with theirs." General Hayes felt a spark of hope for the first time since the invasion began. "What do they need from us?" "Coordination," Jake replied. "They've been hidden for so long that they don't understand our surface military systems. They need us to help them coordinate attacks with any surviving human forces." The connection suddenly expanded as more voices joined the conversation. Resistance cells from around the world were being linked through the Hadal communication network. Captain Steve Miller reported from a hidden base in Australia, Major Ruth Collins from a submarine in the Atlantic, and Colonel Henry Rodriguez from a mountain shelter in South America. "This is incredible," Captain Miller's voice crackled through the connection. "We're getting reports of massive sea life movements all around the Australian coast. Whales, dolphins, everything is heading toward the alien ships." Dr. Carter had been monitoring the biological communications from the Hadal. "They're not just fighting alone. They're coordinating with all ocean life. Every creature in the sea is responding to their call." The first demonstration of Hadal power came without warning. Jake watched through the submarine's windows as one of the creatures positioned itself directly below an alien ship that was attacking the surface far above. The creature's body began to glow with intense light, and suddenly the water around it began to move in ways that defied physics. "What's happening?" Amy asked, watching her instruments register impossible readings. "They're creating a pressure wave," Tony explained, his voice filled with awe. "They're using the water itself as a weapon." The pressure wave shot upward through the ocean like an invisible missile. When it reached the alien ship, the vessel's shields flickered and failed. Without their protection, the ship's hull began to crack under the immense pressure of the deep ocean environment. "Direct hit," Jake reported to the surface. "The alien ship is disabled and sinking." General Hayes felt her heart racing with excitement. "Commander, can they do that to multiple ships?" "General, there are hundreds of these creatures rising from the deep. They're not just in the Pacific. My instruments are detecting similar movements in every ocean on Earth." Major Collins' voice came through from the Atlantic. "Confirmed, General. We're seeing massive biological activity in the deep Atlantic. Something huge is moving toward the alien fleet positions." The Hadal creatures began demonstrating more of their abilities. Jake watched as several of them worked together to create a massive whirlpool that pulled 3 alien ships down into the crushing depths. Others generated electromagnetic pulses that disrupted alien communications and navigation systems. "They're not just powerful," Dr. Carter observed. "They're incredibly coordinated. It's like they're all connected, sharing information instantly across vast distances." Amy had been working with the Hadal communication systems and was beginning to understand their technology. "General Hayes, they're offering to enhance our equipment. They can modify our weapons and vehicles to work better against the aliens." "How?" the general asked. "Bio-integration," Amy replied. "They can merge their living technology with our electronics. It would make our systems more adaptable and harder for the aliens to counter." Jake made a decision that would change everything. "Dr. Carter, work with them. Let them modify our submarine. We need to see what this partnership can accomplish." Over the next several hours, the USS Leviathan underwent an incredible transformation. The Hadal creatures carefully integrated their biological technology with the submarine systems. The hull became more flexible, able to withstand greater pressure. The engines became more efficient, drawing power from the ocean itself. Most importantly, the weapon systems were enhanced with the ability to generate the same pressure waves and electromagnetic pulses that the creatures used. "It's like the submarine is alive now," Tony marveled as he tested the new systems. "I can feel the ocean around us in ways I never could before." The enhanced submarine performed its first combat test when a group of alien ships detected their position and moved to attack. Jake found that he could now maneuver the vessel with incredible precision, while the new weapon systems proved devastatingly effective against alien shields. "General Hayes, the integration is successful," Jake reported. "Our submarine is now capable of fighting alongside the Hadal creatures. We need to get this technology to other human forces." "Already working on it, Commander," the general replied. "We're establishing integration centers at every surviving base. The Hadal are sending representatives to each location." Dr. Carter had been in constant communication with the creatures and had learned something important. "General, they're sharing their knowledge of the aliens. These invaders aren't just random attackers. They're part of a larger fleet and more." "Ships are coming. How many more?" General Hayes asked. "Hundreds, maybe thousands. The Hadal have been monitoring space around Earth for centuries. This is just the first wave." Jake felt a chill despite the warm water around them. "General, we need to prepare for a much larger battle, but we won't be fighting alone. The Hadal have been protecting Earth for millions of years, and they're not going to stop now." As if responding to his words, more creatures began rising from the deepest trenches. The ocean floor was revealing an army that had been hidden since before human civilization began. Earth's true guardians were awakening, and they were ready to defend their home. The alliance between humanity and the Hadal was now complete, and the real war for Earth was about to begin. The coordinated attack began at dawn across all of Earth's oceans. Commander Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of the transformed USS Leviathan as massive Hadal creatures breached the surface for the first time in millions of years, the living. Leviathans were larger than any human warship, their bioluminescent skin glowing with power as they prepared to face the alien fleet. "All units, this is General Patricia Hayes coordinating from Colorado Base," came the voice through the enhanced communication system. "Operation Deep Strike is now active. Human and Hadal forces are moving to synchronized attack positions." Jake marveled at how the integration had changed everything. His submarine now moved through the water like a living creature, responding to his thoughts as much as his controls. The Hadal biotechnology had merged seamlessly with human engineering, creating something entirely new. "Sir, I'm detecting massive movement from the deepest trenches," reported Tony Walsh, his sonar equipment now enhanced with biological sensors. "The creatures are rising from every ocean floor simultaneously." Dr. Lisa Carter monitored the biological communications flowing between the Hadal forces. "They're coordinating on a global scale. Every creature in every ocean is following the same battle plan." The first wave of Hadal warriors reached the surface waters where the alien ships waited. These beings had evolved in the crushing depths of the ocean, their bodies adapted to survive pressures that would instantly kill any surface creature. As they emerged, they began to demonstrate why the deep ocean had remained unconquered for millions of years. Amy Rodriguez watched her instruments register impossible readings as the Hadal creatures began manipulating the water itself. "They're creating localized tsunamis? The water is moving in ways that shouldn't be possible." One of the massive creatures positioned itself beneath a cluster of alien ships. Its body began to pulse with energy, and suddenly the ocean around it formed into a towering wall of water. The wall moved upward with tremendous force, striking the alien vessels and crushing their shields through sheer hydraulic pressure. "Direct hit on Alien Formation 7, reported Captain Steve Miller from his position in the Pacific. "Their shields are down and the ships are taking heavy damage." The aliens tried to respond with their energy weapons, but the Hadal creatures had been preparing for this moment. They had studied alien technology through the debris from earlier battles, and they knew exactly how to counter each weapon system. Jake watched in amazement as several Hadal beings worked together to create a massive whirlpool that pulled alien ships down into the crushing depths. The alien vessels, designed for space combat, could not withstand the immense pressure of the deep ocean. "The aliens are trying to retreat to higher altitude," came the voice of Major Ruth Collins from the Atlantic Theater. "But the Hadal creatures are following them up." For the first time, humans witnessed the true power of Earth's ocean guardians. The Hadal creatures could manipulate water in its liquid, gas, and solid states. They created ice spears that pierced alien hulls, steam clouds that blocked enemy sensors, and pressure waves that disabled electronic systems. "Sir, we're receiving new tactical data from the Hadal Command," Dr. Carter announced. "They're sharing information about a weakness in the alien command structure." The data showed that the alien fleet relied on a central command ship that coordinated all their operations. If that ship could be destroyed, the entire alien force would be thrown into chaos. "General Hayes, are you seeing this?" Jake asked over the communication system. "Affirmative, Commander. The command ship is positioned in the Central Pacific, heavily defended by the remaining alien fleet. We need a coordinated strike from multiple directions." Jake felt the submarine respond to his intentions as the Hadal biotechnology enhanced his natural reflexes. "We can do this, General. The integration has given us capabilities we never imagined." The assault on the alien command ship began with Hadal creatures attacking from the depths while human forces coordinated surface and aerial strikes. The USS Leviathan, now part biological and part mechanical, moved through the water with unprecedented speed and agility. Tony's enhanced sonar detected the massive alien command vessel long before human technology alone could have found it. "Target acquired, sir. The command ship is 3 times larger than any vessel we've encountered. It's protected by energy barriers that extend both above and below the water," Amy added, studying the alien defensive systems. "But the Hadal creatures think they can disrupt those barriers." Dr. Carter translated the biological communications from their allies. "They're planning to use bioelectric manipulation. Their natural electrical systems can interfere with the alien technology." The battle was unlike anything in human history. Hadal creatures the size of buildings moved through the water with impossible grace, their bodies generating electromagnetic pulses that disrupted alien systems. Human forces, enhanced with biological technology, coordinated their attacks with precision that surprised even their alien enemies. Jake guided the submarine through the chaos of battle, watching as Hadal warriors engaged alien ships in close combat. The creatures' ability to manipulate water gave them advantages that the spaceborne aliens could not counter. "The alien command ship is trying to escape," reported Lieutenant Ben Parker from the Surface Coordination Center. "It's moving toward the atmosphere." "Not if we can help it," Jake replied. Pushing the submarine to its enhanced limits, the Hadal creatures had anticipated this move. As the command ship tried to rise, massive beings emerged from the deepest trenches and began working together to create a barrier of manipulated water that trapped the alien vessel. "They're using the ocean itself as a cage," Dr. Carter observed in amazement. "The water is moving in impossible patterns, creating a barrier that the aliens can't break through." The enhanced USS Leviathan moved into position below the trapped command ship. Jake could feel the submarine's new biological systems responding to the coordinated attack plan that the Hadal creatures shared through their neural network. "All units, this is the moment," General Hayes announced. "Concentrated fire on the command ship. Everything we have." The combined assault was devastating. Human weapons enhanced with Hadal biotechnology struck the alien vessel from multiple angles while the creatures themselves generated pressure waves and electromagnetic pulses that overloaded the ship's defenses. "The command ship's shields are failing," Tony reported. "Multiple hull breaches detected." Amy monitored the alien communications as their command structure began to collapse. "They're losing coordination. The smaller ships are breaking formation." The Destruction of the command ship sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. Without central coordination, the individual ships began making desperate attempts to escape. But the Hadal creatures had surrounded the entire battle area, and there was no escape from the ocean's embrace. "Alien fleet is in full retreat," reported Captain Miller, "but they're not getting far. The Hadal creatures are pursuing them." Jake watched through the submarine's windows as the ancient guardians of Earth's oceans demonstrated their dominance. The aliens had made a fatal error in attacking the domain of beings who had mastered water itself. "General Hayes, the immediate threat is neutralized," Jake reported. "But Dr. Carter has been monitoring their communications." "They sent a distress signal before the command ship was destroyed." "What kind of signal?" the general asked. Dr. Carter's voice was grim. "A warning to other alien fleets. They're telling their allies that Earth has guardians and that the planet is far more dangerous than they originally thought." The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The aliens now knew that Earth was protected by ancient beings of incredible power. The next wave of attackers would come prepared for a very different kind of fight. Jake looked out at the Hadal creatures moving through the water around his submarine. For millions of years, they had protected Earth's oceans in secret. Now they were ready to defend their home openly, and any alien force that threatened their world would learn why the deep ocean had remained unconquered since the beginning of time. 3 months after the Great Battle, Commander Jake Morrison stood on the deck of a floating research platform that had been impossible to imagine before the Alliance. The structure was half human engineering and half Hadal biotechnology, a living building that floated on the Pacific Ocean while extending deep into the water below. Dr. Lisa Carter worked alongside Hadal scientists in laboratories where human microscopes shared space with biological instruments that could examine life at the molecular level. The partnership had opened up discoveries that would change both civilizations forever. "The integration is exceeding all our expectations," Dr. Carter reported to General Patricia Hayes during their weekly coordination meeting. "We're learning more about ocean biology in a month than we learned in the previous century." General Hayes reviewed the reports from around the world. Similar research stations had been established in every ocean, each one a symbol of the new relationship between surface and deep-sea civilizations. "What about the defense preparations?" "The Hadal are certain more aliens will come." Jake looked out over the water where Hadal patrols moved just beneath the surface. Their bioluminescent forms created patterns of light that had become a comforting sight to human observers. "They're teaching us to see the ocean the way they do. It's not empty water anymore. It's a living system that can be shaped and directed." Tony Walsh operated monitoring equipment that combined human electronics with Hadal biological sensors. "Sir, I'm detecting the regular patrol patterns. The creatures have established a defensive network that covers the entire planet. Nothing can approach Earth through space without them knowing about it." The Hadal had revealed that their observation of the cosmos was far more extensive than humans had imagined. For millions of years, they had been monitoring space around Earth, protecting the planet from threats that surface dwellers never knew existed. Amy Rodriguez worked at a communication station that could instantly connect with Hadal cities around the world. General Hayes were receiving reports from the Atlantic Research Station. They've made contact with Hadal elders who have been studying the alien technology. The analysis of captured alien equipment had provided disturbing information. The invaders were part of a much larger galactic empire that had been expanding across space for thousands of years. Earth was just one target in a campaign that had already destroyed dozens of other worlds. But none of those worlds had guardians. "Like the Hadal," Dr. Carter added. "The aliens have never encountered a species that could manipulate the fundamental forces of a planet's environment." Jake had spent weeks learning to operate the enhanced submarine systems that merged human and Hadal technology. The vessel could now dive deeper than any human craft had ever gone, while remaining as maneuverable as a living creature. "The deep ocean cities are incredible," he reported. "They've been building down there for millions of years. Some of their structures extend all the way to the ocean floor at depths we can barely imagine. The Hadal cities were unlike anything in human architecture. They grew rather than being built, with living walls that could repair themselves and expand as needed. The entire civilization was based on biological technology that worked in harmony with the ocean environment. General Hayes studied the defensive capabilities that the Alliance had developed. "Are we ready for the next attack?" "The Hadal seems certain it's coming." "More than ready, General," Jake replied. "The integration has given us capabilities that even the Hadal find impressive. Human adaptability combined with their ancient knowledge is creating something entirely new." The partnership had changed both species in unexpected ways. Humans were learning to think in terms of biological systems and environmental harmony, while the Hadal were discovering the advantages of human innovation and rapid adaptation. Amy's communication equipment suddenly activated with priority signals from around the world. "General, we're getting reports from our deep space monitoring network. Something's approaching the solar system." The Hadal early warning system extended far beyond Earth's orbit, using biological sensors that could detect spacecraft across vast distances. The network had been tracking an approaching alien fleet for several weeks. "How large is this fleet?" General Hayes asked. Dr. Carter translated the Hadal communications that were flowing through the biological network. "Much larger than the first. 1. Hundreds of ships, including massive command vessels that the Hadal have never encountered before." Jake felt a familiar tension as he prepared for another battle, but this time it was mixed with confidence. The Alliance had proven itself in the first conflict, and the preparations for a larger engagement had been thorough. "The Hadal elders want to share something with us," Dr. Carter announced. "They're transmitting data about other worlds, other species that have faced similar invasions." The information was staggering. The Hadal had been in contact with guardian species on dozens of other planets, ancient beings who protected their worlds from cosmic threats. Earth was part of a hidden network of defended worlds that the expanding alien empire had never suspected. "We're not alone in the galaxy," Jake realized. "There are others like the Hadal on worlds throughout space." Tony's monitoring equipment detected the approach of major Hadal forces from the deepest ocean trenches. "Sir, the creatures are mobilizing on a scale we've never seen. They're preparing for something much bigger than the last battle." The enhanced USS Leviathan had become the flagship of the human Hadal Alliance fleet. Jake commanded not just his submarine crew, but coordinated with Hadal warriors whose understanding of three-dimensional warfare and fluid environments gave them advantages that spaceborne enemies could not match. "General Hayes, the alien fleet will reach Earth orbit within 72 hours, Amy reported. "But the Hadal have a surprise waiting for them." The surprise was revealed as massive biomechanical constructs began rising from ocean trenches around the world. These were not just large creatures, but living weapons platforms that had been growing in the deepest waters for centuries, waiting for a threat that required their activation. "They're the size of small continents," Dr. Carter observed in amazement. "The Hadal have been preparing for this level of threat for geological ages." Jake watched through the research platform's windows as one of the massive constructs surfaced near their position. Its surface was covered in what looked like organic cities, but he knew they were actually weapon systems capable of projecting force across interplanetary distances. The alien fleet arrived to find Earth defended not just by the forces they had encountered before, but by an alliance that had grown far beyond their understanding. The battle that followed would be remembered as the moment when Earth announced itself to the galaxy as a world that would not be conquered, but more importantly, it was the beginning of something new. The partnership between humanity and the Hadal had created possibilities that neither species could have achieved alone. The deep ocean was no longer a mysterious frontier, but a shared home where two civilizations worked together to protect their world. As Jake prepared for the coming battle, he looked out over water that sparkled with the lights of Hadal cities and human research stations. Earth's greatest secret had become its greatest strength, and the galaxy was about to learn that some worlds were protected by guardians who had been waiting in the deep for millions of years. The age of Earth standing alone in space was over. The age of the alliance between the surface and the deep had begun, and no force in the galaxy was prepared for what that partnership could accomplish. The ocean depths held more than humanity had ever imagined. And now those depths were humanity's ally in defending their shared home among the stars.